Hello there, welcome back to the channel, and once again venturing into the deep dark wilds of the Delta Quadrant to retrieve some information via the Hirogen Communication Center network. That sounded better in my head, but we're going to stick with it anyway. The Hirogen communication stations were encountered by Voyager in 2374, and we're going to discuss them today. Before we do, like, share, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a comment down below, and let's get into it. As I said, the communication networks were encountered by the USS Voyager in the Delta Quadrant in the year 2374. These were large, extremely old, and I cannot stress the old part of this, communication relay stations that extended very conveniently as a MacGuffin, convenient method of communication across the Delta Quadrant, through the Beta Quadrant, and just touching into the Alpha Quadrant. So whoever built these things had a big range of territory, which is in keeping with the Hirogen, as we know that in the 24th century they were definitely in both the Beta and Alpha Quadrants. The vessels also used what was known as a dicyclic warp drive, which could at least keep pace with some types of transwarp technology. Exactly how, I'm not sure. Whether or not that was actually a form of transwarp is not clear, but certainly Hirogen vessels were fast and they were very widely traveled. The Hirogen used this network purely for communication, as far as we can tell, and it allowed for near instantaneous communication over incredibly vast distances. Voyager, believing that these stations were abandoned, attempted to use them to contact Earth, sending the Doctor through as a stable holographic matrix to the other end, as a normal communication simply got bounced back because it degraded too much along the network. The Hirogen weren't too pleased about this, however, and during a little bit of back and forth between Captain Janeway and a Hirogen, who was becoming increasingly intransigent and not particularly willing or interested to negotiate a use of the network even momentarily for Voyager, which, to be fair, is theirs, he was given a mild shock that will have rendered him unconscious by 7 of 9. There's one way of dealing with it. I think that's what they call hostile negotiations. But anyway, the Hirogen were very protective over much of their technology, such as these arrays. Each array was protected by a type of defense field, but most notably they were powered by a microsingularity. No more than a few millimeters across, these things put out gravitational waves up to 2 light years away from the array and were kept in check by some kind of containment fields that, after 100,000 years at least that these stations existed for, was starting to degrade a little bit, but the Hirogen clearly maintained them to some degree, otherwise probably large parts of the network would have degraded. It is possible that the network was once much larger and simply many of these stations have gone offline, possibly once in the span of the entire galaxy, but that is just a pure bit of speculation on my part. It just seems awfully convenient that it only goes from the Delta Quadrant through the Beta and just kind of touches the Alpha. It is possible that over 100,000 years that's all the territory the Hirogen ever traveled, but yeah, maybe, I suppose. Anyway, it's not entirely clear if the Hirogen, however, were the original builders of these arrays. Personally, it looks that way, superficially, as the construction materials and general aesthetic of the stations is in keeping with known Hirogen hull geometry and materials used for construction. However, that does imply that the Hirogen have been building the same style out of the same materials for 100,000 years, which again is possible. Just because a civilization is old doesn't inherently mean it has to advance technologically. For example, the vast majority of human history, stone tools were the norm. 200,000 years of, let's face it, non-recorded history, the most advanced invention we had was fire. Not knocking it, it's a great invention. But that was it. Fire and stone axes and a few wooden antlers. You know, the technology didn't really change much or adapt very much over a very long period of time. It's possible the Hirogen have simply reached the level of technology that they need and only advance when required, and they basically just keep on going, trudging along. A bit like the great white shark of the Delta Quadrant. So it's possible they built them, but it's never confirmed. In their own wording, the Hirogen claim them as their technology. It is possible, however, they simply stumbled upon them like Voyager did and claimed them, and they adapted technology from them which then led them to building their ships in a similar way, and their space stations for that matter, in a similar structural form to the satellites. But that again, pure speculation. It is infinitely more likely that the Hirogen did build them. It should also be pointed out that coming out of Universe, in the Star Trek Encyclopedia, it does note that these stations were built by the Hirogen, but that's out of Universe. Let's go back in. In Universe, it's not clear if the Hirogen did or didn't build them. It would superficially seem that way, but it isn't confirmed, simply because it's not clear if the Hirogen are a civilization that has literally been around for that length of time. Considering, again, in the Hirogen's own words, civilizations that don't change die. But the communications arrays are a marvel of technology. They were regrettably knocked offline sometime later when Voyager attempted to retrieve information out of the database that Starfleet attempted to send to them, which had become lodged in one of the arrays. They attempted to extract it, but then were engaged by the Hirogen, forcing them to destabilize and then destroy the array, taking out the Hirogen ship with it. Unfortunately, a feedback from this destruction disabled the rest of the network. Again, if the Hirogen either knew enough about the technology, were reliant on it enough, or perhaps did build it originally, they were probably able to repair these, but considering how far apart they are, that's probably still an ongoing process in the early 25th century. Could even explain why Captain Picard encountered Hirogen nearer to Federation territories. They may have been in the area trying to repair the array network. Again, pure speculation. Again, formidable pieces of technology. Communications should never be underestimated. It's an absolutely essential, but sometimes overlooked part of warfare and modern civilization. We take it for granted, but imagine if someone took away communications now, and you've got family abroad, you need to contact local authorities. Imagine it's gone. It's scary how much we really depend on it and how much we need it and how far it's come. It will be the same thing for the Hirogen. It should not be underestimated how much of a tactical advantage, not to mention a useful tool as a civilization, having a communication network which allowed for instantaneous two-way communication over tens of thousands of light years would actually give the Hirogen. It's incalculable how many times that very likely helped them or saved them. But speculate to your heart's degree in the comments section down below how you think the Hirogen may have additionally used this network, because I did try and think of a couple of ideas they may have used it for, but literally, as far as I can tell, it's just for communications and coordinating forces, maybe, showing off their latest prize. Who knows? Let me know in the comment section below. That is the end of this video. If you did make it all the way to the end, I thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and bye-bye.